To say the last couple of years have been a whirlwind since the start of the War of Iberian Conquest would be an understatement. The near loss of the Fearless, a Dreadnought-class battleship, at the hands of a couple of turreted Spanish battleships, was nothing short of a miracle. The damage control officer, still recovering from smoke inhalation, has been promoted and given a Victoria Cross for his service. Keeping that ship afloat was nothing short of divine intervention or, frankly, luck, whichever one you prescribe to. Since Admiral Fisher's retirement, the new First Lord of the Admiralty, one Winston Churchill, has been very, very vocal about warning that the Navy needs to modernize. I'd made this point to Admiral Fisher, who agreed with me, but frankly, the constraints of the war and the British fleet already being stretched thin, along with trying to protect our various holdings and Commonwealth nations, made it difficult to find the time. Truthfully, it was more down to dockyard space than anything. I wish I could have said, well, this would be easy. I could simply find the space, but the dockyards didn't have the space. Nowhere did. Not in the colonies, not at home. And this made it difficult because we needed ships. We needed ships repaired. We needed ships refit and modernized. And we need to start taking the older ships out of service. My son, who is now in the Navy himself, had remarked to me once that he said, "Dad, how are we supposed to do this?" Well, I should say he wants to be in the Navy, but he's been basically tailing me everywhere I go and that I can bring him. He asked me, why are we going to take all of the old battleships out of service? I told him, frankly, because we have to. The original Dreadnought design, a breakthrough in innovation, sure, but it was out of date. And frankly, even refits wouldn't save it. Classes like the Ocean class are not very well designed anyway. Winged turrets are now seen as a hindrance rather than a way to put more guns on a hull. With that being said, however, the Admiralty has made it clear that the Ocean class is to sustain service a bit longer, as, frankly, we don't have enough battleships to man the Pacific theater by themselves. In the meantime, I've been having to dabble in the world of politics, which, frankly, bores me to death. Sitting in meeting after meeting after meeting, in the Admiralty, in the Parliament, with the Prime Minister. Frankly, it's nothing more than a waste of time, as far as I'm concerned. I would rather be at the Naval Academy teaching, helping the Design Bureau design the refits for the light cruisers or destroyers. I'd rather be checking on the status of crew training, doing sea patrols, exercises, but no. Because I've been at the right hand of Admiral Fisher, effectively, for the better part of my career, it kind of became, well, necessary. I wish my other son, who is in the Navy, could be home, but he's with the Asiatic Squadron. And his poor mother is constantly worried that, despite the almost weekly telegrams, she still worries about him, and I get it. I was once all the way over in Hong Kong myself, and it's a long way from home. I wish there was a simple solution. Something that I could say, do to make the Navy bureaucracy work as it needs to. Angus is still on his warpath, and has been basically chewing out anyone who will oppose him about his, doctrine. See, he's been arguing for years now that the naval invasion system that we have is still flawed. Maybe because the Admiralty was basically taking his suggestions and shoving them in a box somewhere, which he in fact found, and much to the, what's the right word here? horror, I should say, of the Admiralty, he found the box is filled with his suggestions, his doctrinal plans, and then he went to the army headquarters and did the same thing, finding 12 boxes. To say that both men of the Chief of Staff were chewed out for the better part of an hour after ignoring his strict mandate from both the Prime Minister, the King, and the Admiralty and Army Headquarters himself, he had to be dragged out of the room. And frankly, if you've never tried to drag an angry 6'8" Scotsman out of a room, I don't think I can accurately describe it. Besides, you're trying to wrestle a man the size of a bear. And Angus is a boxer, a skier, a mountaineer, and so you're basically fighting an American grizzly bear, as I've been told by some American colleagues. They're big, they're large, they can be very angry and unreasonable, and frankly, unless you have a gun, good luck. So, yes, bureaucracy is the pain, but thankfully, someone got word up to the king, who basically told the Admiralty and the army headquarters to let Angus do his work because he's doing it on behalf of him, the king. And he's to report to the king as well. And then I got a letter from the palace saying, oh, yes, by the way, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the naval front, please, thank you. And so now I have to go speak to the king every week, and frankly, it's stressful. Angus keeps his more Jacobite thoughts to himself in front of the king, thankfully, and I've actually managed to speak with the king on various matters. But the one thing that all three of us share the concern for is, well, the state of the Navy. See, the Navy right now is in a bit of turmoil. There's been some naval treaties signed, and, well, we're kind of hampered on dockyard expansion to try to prevent an arms race with the United States, but frankly, the both of us both need civilian dockyards, and so the treaty was basically left more as a suggestion. I did, however, get a chance to visit America, and I did notice a problem. They have a lot of heavy cruisers. Sure, currently, on paper, we have more battlecruisers and battleships in service combined than any other nation in the world. The problem is our cruiser force has been neglected. Now, as someone who used to captain a light cruiser, I understand the pain. Thankfully, I was able to push some things around and get the king to kind of put his weight behind it, but the entire Carlisle class is being refit with the new Mark IV 6-inch guns of 45 caliber, capable of theoretically hitting something 15 kilometers out, which I'm quite happy with. Sure, it loses some torpedo armament, but it'll be a better cruiser overall. But it's time to look forward to the next round of refits. We need better light cruisers in service with better engines, better guns, better tracking capabilities of enemy ships, and all-around improvements. Battle line is woefully in need of refit. Most of the ships that we are going to keep in service for a long period of time are desperately needing upgrades, and the Lion class has basically run its course, and the Iron Dukes are no better. We need a complete overhaul, just like when Jackie Fisher originally came into the Navy. Modernize the fleet, and get it ready for at least another 2 decades. We're not going to have the same dockyard space as a nation like the United States. We never will. The United States is too large, but if we plan accordingly, build the right things at the right time, we can maintain Britain's control over the seas. But in this modern world, Anything can happen. And with Italy, Austria-Hungary, and the Soviet Union all forming a sort of pact to isolate the United Kingdom, who knows what could happen.